Could you please take the roll?
Yes, sir. Dawn Span,
Present.
Carrie Dickford,
Present.
Ronald Bissant,
Present.
Larry Brand,
Present.
Tim Denham,
Present.
Scott Libby,
Present.
Andrew Lindsay,
Present.
all present.
Excellent, thank you. So first item is the approval of the minutes for the September 14th, 2023 meeting. We have a second? Second. All in favor? All opposed, a couple abstentions. Okay,
Good.
thank you. All right, and Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you. You do it from there if you want, or here.
Yeah, probably source for me. I'll get the gavel too. All right, first item on the agenda tonight is the final amended site plan and conditional use permit for Topsham Dental Arts. Who has submitted a proposed parking expansion for 22 new paid parking spaces at 37 Forsyth Road, tax maps U08 lot 18. And Chris.
Hi there, I can't see
Is that
you.
correct?
Yeah. Oh, the link isn't working? Oh, let me, I had to edit it and that probably changed it. I'm so sorry about this.
I have a board in the truck in case. this goes-
That's okay, I'm just gonna
haywire.
pull off of this for a second while I change the link.
All right. I can start talking.
Okay, sing some intermission music.
No one can sing.
So Sky, you just unplugged there.
Yes, yeah, I just don't want everyone to see me editing the website and everything.
Okay.
Should I go get the board just a minute?
If you guys wanna keep. I don't, maybe, yeah, that might be a good call. I'm so sorry about this.
Well, it's a good thing we started 2 minutes early.
Yeah. right in time.
Well, speaking about Chris singing, did anybody see, the secretary is just Secretary of State Lincoln doing jazz?
No.
Yeah, apparently plays and sings. Chairman, I can make the first motion on this.
Let's wait until.
Wait for Chris gets back.
Chris back.
Okay.
Hopefully you got it.
We also have the plans on our little
Oh, good.
tablets too, so.
Awesome.
All right, take two.
My name is Chris Belanger. Here working for Topsham Dental Arts. We're looking to expand their parking at their current facility. This is an existing dentist office on Forsyth Road. We got about 16 parking spaces. Plus they added another 10 gravel spaces as the existing conditions. And I did give an existing condition plan. Hoping to expand the parking, add a new entrance. When we're done, we'll have about 38 spaces, and we have about 26 now. The building is as is, we're not trying to expand it. Just hoping to expand the parking and the drains to accommodate it.
All right.
This is an amendment to an approved plan. It was originally approved in 2007. We amended it in 2015. And this is our third amendment.
All right, before I go to the board, did you see the staff review comments and did you have any?
We've been through the staff comments. There is a couple comments we still need to address, and I understand their conditions of approval. But we whittled it down to just a couple of items.
Okay,
We have,
which ones are those?
Tom's lawsuit asked us to inspect and clean out the infiltration area. That was item 1. And
Excuse me, clean up what?
say that again,
Clean up what area?
the infiltration pipe. That's on site. And then the pump works director is concerned about flows. So he'd like to see some higher storm frequency flows, the 25-year we provided. They'd like to see the 50 and the 100. And he'd like to have some sort of agreement that if there is problems with the downstream structures, we'll work with them to address it.
The first point on the list I have is the planning department question that if the office requires this many parking places, has it potentially outgrown its location within a residential neighborhood? Do you have a?
I do believe they have outgrown this facility. They are actively looking for a new location. We have found a site. We are working on concept studies right now, but in the interim, they need in the next year, and in order to get the new building approved and built, that might take a year and a half. So in the meantime, they need this parking here. So like, still like to move forward with this.
What they gonna do about lighting?
Sir, we can wait and we'll have a public comment period.
I'm sorry.
No problem. All right, open it up to the board. Anyone's got any questions? Start with Ron. You've got any?
Right now, no, because I was on, we approved this first time, and, yeah, it seems like a good concept, in one way and out the other way. Two entrances.
I was there when we approved it as well, and it looks like a good design. I have no comments.
So, saw something in there indicating that there would be no increased traffic.
That was a mistake, I would say. There's no increased traffic to the existing building. We're not adding square footage or rooms.
Right, not adding anything to the building,
Right,
but you're adding,
I'm adding parking to
Right.
support what they have now.
right, and you're adding paved parking. Which right now, there's only that little bit, that I think you showed them, kind of like a lighter gray.
Yep,
That's paved,
they built it here.
but that's gravel.
Yes,
And then the rest of it, we're talking about.
this is all new, yes.
All the way around and then
Yeah.
back out to Forsyth. So there would be increased car traffic.
Not really, because the building as it sits today is already has the traffic. If that makes it, they don't have enough parking to support the traffic they have, if that makes sense.
So where do people park?
They used to park at the library as an overflow.
Yeah.
The library negotiations failed, I guess, so they don't want them to park over here any longer. So hence the need for added spaces on site.
I think the point is that the amount of traffic that's going to the building, the amount of business that's going in there is the exact same. People are gonna park where they're gonna park. If they're shopping at Hannaford and they want to go to one of the other stores, they can park anywhere and they're gonna do what they're gonna do anyways. Consumers do what they want. So I think it's just a matter of, you get the same amount of businesses occurring in there, same number of people coming in and out of the doors of the building, it's just the parking. Getting people out of the library would help satisfy that problem, because you can't really stop customers from doing what they're gonna do. So, yeah, I agree.
And then you're talking about parallel parking, is that along the very back?
Right, they added a deck and some stairs.
I know.
So the old plan had parking up along the building and an access way. With the new improvements, we just didn't have enough width to do that, so we came up with a double loaded lane and some parallel spaces on the side.
If all that was paved, Chris, have you run a percentage as far as percentage of the lot that is paved?
Yep.
What is that percentage? It's- Yeah, they're too small for me to see.
We provided 40% landscaping. We're required to have 20.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So about 60% is paved,
Impervious.
impervious. Okay, thank you.
So,
Is that for the woman?
I think the bigger issue is just the neighborhood, the fact that it's a residential neighborhood, I think that's looks great, the way it's designed, it's just a matter of residential component. Which was a problem in 2007, right, Ron?
Yep.
So they are definitely planning on relocating.
They hired me to look at another site and hopefully approve me, assuming it gets approved, yes, they would relocate.
Okay, well, so that, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here, but if they're planning on going somewhere and. I mean, I was under the impression they were staying here and I have absolutely no issue with them trying to rectify their issues for parking. But if they're gonna go and do this and all the expense and all the changes and all of that, is there something in the meantime that they could do? Even with what it's existing with the library until they are actually moving? I mean, I don't know.
The Realtor has asked that question to the owners. Can they come up with an agreement with the library for a year or something like that versus having the expense of doing this? They know that. They still want to proceed with this because
That's not working.
it's not working out.
That's too bad. I mean, I'm just thinking, you know, down the road, the next business that comes in here now has all this parking they do not need. And once you pave all that, it's no turning back. And it is, I mean, I love the building. I think it's incredible. I think it's great. They've done so well. I love having them here as a business. I would do anything. If they were staying here and this is what they wanted, I would be 100% in support. But if they are leaving, I can't understand why we can't work something out in the meantime for the extra overflow of customers. So that if that's the plan, you know, I would hope that something could be worked out.
Well, there's nothing set in stone. They haven't bought a piece of property yet. They're still really actively looking for something in town. But until all those i's are dotted and t's are crossed, this is where they're staying until
Right.
a better option comes online.
I don't know. I'd be curious to think what other members of the board think. I mean,
I think that's a very good point.
the
Yeah, I
library
think
is
so.
public property and, you know, it's certainly not their decision only. They don't pay taxes, this building does. So, you know, I think if there were a problem with the parking, and that's, I was under the impression they were actually adding on to the building as well, so.
Well, initially, that's what they wanted to do.
So they're not,
They
and there's a
decided not.
parking issue, and the library has a lot of space there. And if we're talking about something that's, you know, it's got a finite date and that they're gonna try to relocate. And certainly, I think that's great, that's where they're at, and they're doing so well, it's awesome. But if, you know, this is a big project, it's a lot of money for them to spend, I mean. And it's a lot of change. And then if they leave, now we have this. You know, it's not gonna be the same as it is now, it's gonna be paved and there's another curb cut. And all of that. So I would just think, before we go ahead, let's look at the compromise that we may be able to do to get them what they need. And then to get them to find another place in town and keep them here and try to make everybody happy.
We're certainly willing to go down that road.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we still like get this approved in the
Yeah,
event
I mean,
that doesn't work.
I don't want to stand in the way of Topsham Dental Arts, because I think they've done a phenomenal job and a great business. You know, they've chosen Topsham as their home, and I think we as a planning board should embrace that. However, you know, if there's something we can do to help the situation and give you the parking you need, because you're saying that's not working out, well, maybe we need a little more help to make that work out. That's all I'm saying.
I'm sure the owner would be amenable to going down that road
Okay.
and seeing if it's worth it or can it happen.
They interrupt you. Julie, typically during the regular meeting, we can have town staff, and I think the library director qualifies as that. Would you like to come to the podium?
Sure.
Address the-
Actually, I'm not technically town staff.
Okay,
I am director of the not-for-profit organization, which is the Topsham Public Library. And we have had some parking issues with the dentist office for several years now. We have attempted to come up with a compromise with them. It lasts for a little while and then it does not continue. Board of Trustees has asked them to the dentist office to not park in the library at this point. It's taking up pretty much, they have had as many as 10, 12, or 15 parking spaces in the time. We have agreed in the interim, until they can get this parking lot accomplished, that we will allow 3 spots for their staff to park. And that has seemed to work out well. We are a very busy public library. We have lots of programs. We have lots of activities. And so it is the library board's contention that this is not an appropriate use. It is a public library. We want to have people in the town have access to their public library.
Can I ask how many spaces does the library have?
I believe there are 49. I can double check that. I don't have it off the top of my head.
thank you.
Mhm.
Other comments? I mean, I want to chime in where I agree with Tim on a couple things. One is, this looks like a great plan. And it will look, it's a nice facility. But to his other point about the 2007 approval, it was for the first floor to be dental arts and residence on the second. Don't think I was a member of the board at that point, but I was a member of the board in 2015 when we allowed the second floor to be expanded for dental arts. At that time, we saw a similar plan to this that had parking on the other side and a road and a
Yes.
drive going around it. Correct.
The improved plan, 2015.
No, we didn't approve all the parking going around. We approved the parking at the back and allowed it to be grassed and didn't have to be paved because it wasn't needed at the time. And then eventually this was one of the first times that we did the not making the minimum parking have to happen, but that it was being prepared that it could be used for parking. But the idea of the loop road was denied, given that it's a conditional use in a residential area. We have residential properties abutting it. And I think at that point, I'm not sure if you had that much parking on the other side. I don't remember quite as much impervious surface on the lot. But we determined that, and I think, overall, given that it is a conditional use in the area and in a residential area, that was one of the reasonable restriction to keep the parking on the library side and not all the way around.
I do remember that,
It's-
actually, yeah.
It's fantastic, the business is doing well, but just as they realize it might be time to move someplace else. And clearly the library realizes that. I am unsure why we would grant a expanded conditional use, never mind the site plan, to redo the conditional use whereby we've removed all the restrictions on that conditional use for this residential area. That's my 2 cents.
How many absolutely do you need? How many spaces?
They need more than what I can provide, I guess is the point. We maximize what we can do on site.
I mean, this is a plan for what, 22 more?
Well, we have 10 existing, so there's 26 there now. We're adding another 12, so 38 total.
So the 12 that you're adding is basically where the issue's been with the library, the 10, the 12.
Right.
Is it a safe assumption that the library would like to see this approved?
We would like to see the parking lot at the library be used by library patrons.
Right, yeah,
So-
so this is a pollution
Yeah.
of that.
You don't think I should, okay, that's right now. You can come back up.
So how many employee parking spaces?
Right now, they have around 25 employees that are there on a shift. We'll say. He said it varies from 20 to 27, but his maximum would be 25.
That has expanded.
Okay, if we open it up to.
Yeah, go ahead.
public
Yep.
Here. All right, we'll, up to public to make comments as they like. Please come up to the microphone, state your name. And also please direct comments to the board and we can,
Name is Al Bork. I live on 6 Pinewood Drive, which is next door to the library. A lot of traffic out there. The fence that they got isn't quite what it should be. You have a copy of that?
Sure. I can do it. But
There's a lot of traffic out there.
thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? We can say anything else or good?
I have a question. I have a question about the traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be library traffic, that could be traffic down to the fields, and that could be, I mean, I just don't want it to seem like it's just the dental arts traffic that's
Right.
coming in and out of there
Right.
from that comment.
All right, don't see any more public comment. Public hearing is closed. Additional discussion. I'll, one thing that I noticed in the conditional use memo, is, just like highlighted. Conditional uses are, and this is now the rest is in quote on our ordinance, permitted only after review and approval by the Board of Appeals or Planning Board. A conditional use is a use that would not be appropriate without restriction, but which is permitted provided all the performance standards, et cetera, are met. So a use that would not be appropriate without restriction. And I think that we have provided reasonable restrictions to this business in previous approvals. And not the board, just for myself, I feel that this plan kind of circumvents those previous restrictions and is not appropriate for a residential area. And the added difficulty is if we were to go down this road and approve it and they move, then, here we have an office park type building, waiting for the new use. I'm not sure, I would expect that we would be pretty tough on what the new use is allowed there, but still we've got this huge 60+% impervious surface, building with, you said 40-something parking spaces,
38.
38, abutting residential properties, so that's my 2 cents.
I struggle the same. Really do.
Is there, have you had any discussions about not having the extra curb cut?
I have thought about that, and if that's a direction you would like me to pursue, I guess I could explain my case. If you were to shut this entrance down, could I still cut the pavement here, have parking, and just use that one entrance?
I don't think that fixes any problems though. It doesn't make it more residential or less commercial. I think I think if anything, it's just gonna make more traffic issues going in and out of that one spot.
I think this does circulate better this way. We did think about that while we were trying to address it.
I guess my question is, what, what's our recommendation? Maybe it's not up to us to come up with a solution. However, they're here and they've made Topsham their home. And I just would hate to say, okay, no, that's it, deal. And go and then have to find something else. And it does take time and, it's a commitment to probably either build or find another place and do all that whole move and all of that. I would really like to try to find some way to work out something in the meantime, especially if they're gonna move. I mean, I guess that's my only concern is if they're going to move. I don't know if I want to see this happen because we don't need to. But I want to accommodate you guys as well, so
Well,
that's where I'm struggling.
adding all this extra parking is going to make it more commercial, more of a commercial property, more of an appeal for the next use down the road, which is what I'm thinking is this is gonna make it more of a draw for something bigger, more commercial-esque, if you will, less residential.
I mean, the building does fit. As far as the looks and aesthetics, it fits where it is.
I like it.
I love it.
It's just the residential components that I struggle with. So
It's not our job to find the solution, but with that many employees, have they looked into a commuter van? And off premises parking, I mean.
I'm sure they've looked at all of the appropriate avenues for themselves and
That's a lot of employees in there.
I mean, have they, what about,
has grown since they started.
have they talked to the Legion down the road or somewhere like that? I mean, we're talking 10 spaces that they really need. They really could use another 10 spaces, right?
And that would be ideal, I would say, for them. We looked at avenues of trying to keep everything on this side of the entrance, maybe adding some spaces in the setback, and that wasn't allowed either, so. We tried, we really tried to keep it as minimal as possible, but still, they need the space that they need, I guess.
Well, this certainly seems like there are, potential ways to help. I think our job here is to look at the conditional use and eventually a site plan if we get to that. And, again, back to the 2007, 2015 approvals. Those were for a professional building that met the kind of limitations that we expected for a residential zone. This, again, no longer does that. And the fact that they're realized, they've got to move and get a new place. They've outgrown a professional office in a residential zone. And I think that our job, even though, we do like to provide suggestions and help things as much as we do, is to make a determination on the conditional use. And Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna make a motion as the chair, but if those of us are, I think from gathering what has been said, are against granting the conditional use, you would need to make a motion to that effect. Correct.
The chair. What if they took and, did away from the second entrance? And that section on that side of the building, which kept it gravel. Up to, pave it from there to where your, fellow parking is, then the rest is gravel,
That would work for them.
and then do away with the other exit.
I like that idea. Something that you could fix after you go.
And we're locating the parking over existing lawn areas, so you could rip up the pavement and revegetate if they ever left, or it's not like you could revert back to where it was before.
The gravel's not as permanent. The gravel's not as permanent and it gives you something while you're looking.
Agreed.
So I like that.
I think it takes
It's
just as
cutting
much
around.
to gravel as it does pavement,
Yeah.
honestly. They go over the skid steer, it's all coming out just as easy.
And you still end up having the parking and the vehicles in, closer to the residential properties and impinging on those properties.
Ron, was your suggestion to make to approve it with condition of it being removed if they sell or move out of the, move the business out? Did I miss
Yeah,
it?
you're talking about the gravel lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, they can cover it all, man.
But would it be, with this approval that you're proposing, even talking about, would it require the removal of that if they sold or moved the business from there, so that the next business wouldn't have that?
Yeah. And just keep the first part there with the hot top up to around the corner right after the parallel parking. And then the rest gravel, so that way if something ever happened, they could either remove the gravel or cover it with loam and grass it.
Having been off the board for so long, is it customary for the board to make an approval for something like this where it would be gravel but not paved? You can't pave an area that's gravel.
I mean, we have allowed, like the previous parking, we allowed them not to pay that.
Okay,
But I think we have to approve parking spaces.
yeah, I get
To
you.
do this, and I'm not sure we can add a condition that when you sell it, you gotta fix it.
Mhm.
That's, I mean,
I get it, I'm just talking,
Yeah, no,
I'm trying to understand what Ron was saying,
Yeah.
so,
I
yeah.
think it's trying to find a solution that everybody could live with until.
I'm with you, they need parking, that's what their goal is here. We can maybe try to make pervious pavers or make it look green or, if that's what it takes, but.
Anyone else?
Okay, well, I move, Topsham Dental Arts conditional use permit request is not in compliance with chapter 225, section 67 conditional use standards. And that it is not approved at this time.
so moved, any seconds?
I'll second
Right, moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor? The four, and opposed? Two. Motion passes. And my understanding is since that motion to deny the conditional use passes, that there's no reason to go into the site plan.
Okay.
I think you've gotten some feedback on the site plan, but if there was something to come before us again. I think that
If we did revise the plan and come back to you, would you approve the conditional use, or is that just a dead issue and we just go home.
Chairman, can there be a condition, could there, I know you said that we haven't done it in the past, but could there be a condition where it is removed if they sell or?
I do not know that, and maybe you could have discussions with the planning department on that. And determine if that's a useful avenue of proceeding with this.
So. All set?
I think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
And going to workshop, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second and third.
All right, all in favor of adjourning? Unanimous?